Hello and welcome. So today's video is a little bit different. This is about Last Epoch and 1.0, which is coming up very, very quickly. In fact, by the time this video goes live, it will almost certainly be under a month away. And that's pretty crazy to think about from someone who's been playing this game for as long as I have. But not everyone's been playing it for that long. In fact, a lot of people haven't been playing the game at all. They're just hearing about it now. It's kind of going all over the place a little bit now, and I imagine that's going to be even more so. You know, Asmongold's making videos on it, and a lot of larger streamers are talking about it. So this video is going to be a relatively short sort of introduction to what 1.0 means for Last Epoch, what this game has been up to this point. Very short on that, but just to give you like a little bit of a feel, and then what you can kind of expect going forward. So for Last Epoch, 1.0 is effectively just the next stage of development. This game has been in early access for over 4 years, I believe now. I've been playing it for over 4 years. So it's been around for quite a while. You could buy it on Steam for $34.99. I've got 5,000 hours of this game, almost all on Steam. So yeah, it's not a new release in the traditional sense. However, it is a milestone. It's a really important place for the game to be at. First of all, it means that there's enough in the game that the developers feel like it can be called a 1.0, even though there's some arbitrariness to what a 1.0 is. Generally, it's supposed to mean that your game is in a very playable state with all the content it would need to have for someone to consider it to be effectively worthwhile of being a complete game. It shouldn't be very buggy. The multiplayer should work really well. It should have all the systems in place that it would need to feel good. And so this is, in my opinion, 11th Hour Games stating that they feel that this is the state of the game, that it is ready for 1.0, which also means it's ready for what they call cycles, which is the seasonal league-style mechanic where you get cyclical content every 3 months. It's a very ARPG thing to do. PoE does it, Diablo 4 does it, Diablo 3 does it. This is pretty commonplace in the genre and even expected at this point by ARPG players. And so 1.0 marks the first cycle. That's really exciting. Now we're going to get the leaderboard resets and all the content every, assumingly 3 to 4 months that these other games get. People are going to want to come back for it, etc. That is what 1.0 is, the very first one of those. So we should see a lot of people coming to check that out. It's also new content, and it will be every cycle now, but this one's a lot of new content. The big things it's going to have are 2 of the mastery classes that have been not in existence yet. So almost all the mastery classes are in the game. By the way, for those who don't know, the game has classes. You know, you can play a paladin or you can play a rogue, but then at some point early in the game, you can specialize into a mastery class, which gives you even more accessibility options, even more ways to change the way that your build plays, more skills, more passives, etc. And so there's only 2 missing right now out of the 15 masteries. Anyway, they'll all be in at 1.0. There'll be none missing. And the 2 that are coming in are pretty exciting. So you got Warlock and you've got Falconer. On top of that is factions, which is like a huge topic on its own that I'm sure I'll have multiple videos on, but factions are effectively a way to choose between whether or not you want to trade with other players, buy and sell items, or whether you don't, but you want other bonuses or benefits or ways to acquire loot that are both passive that you can grind towards just getting, or also active, like selecting your own, what they're called prophecies, which are things that you go do in the world and then you get rewarded for doing it. So both of these come into the game at 1.0, and in my opinion, they're transformative. Yeah, trade is always transformative game, but we've never seen an ARPG do both trade and then also something for the people that don't want to trade, a very specific mechanic just for them, that they can feel like they're not falling way behind on the trade side of it. So really, really looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of hype around that. I know Asmongold's got a video on it. There's already a lot of hype building around that. It's only going to pick up. It's going to get crazier. That's not all, though, that comes in the 1.0 launch. There's also going to be a bunch of updates visually. The game is looking a lot better. We've seen some lighting examples. It looks really, really good. I think it's going to be a fairly substantial improvement to the way people feel about how the game looks. There's also a bunch of balancing that's going on. There's reworking of certain mechanics, like the endgame Monolith of Fate has some mechanics in it that scale your difficulty, and in the past it's been kind of not very well balanced, and you can get really, really challenging things just because you got unlucky, and then you get really, really easy things because you got lucky. That's getting reworked so that it's a more of a smooth process throughout it. And there's going to be a bunch of little things like that. They have a lot of time between the last patch and this one in order to add some things, fix some things, improve some things. I think you're going to see a lot more of a polished experience at 1.0. The other stuff that's coming for 1.0 is hype. One of the big ones is hype. Like, you're already seeing it now. You're seeing these videos go out. You're seeing big content creators with lots and lots of views about Last Epoch. You're seeing people talk about how great the game is that have played it. That's only going to increase. And then when we get to February 21st, there's going to be a lot of people playing this game. A whole lot of people playing this game. There were 40,000 concurrent players at the 0.9 launch, which was just adding multiplayer to the game. 1.0 launches in video games are always the point to where you get all of the hype and you get the player base to check it out, assuming that the game is hype worthy. This one clearly is, given what you're seeing already. This game is going to get inundated with players, and it's going to be very interesting to see if the servers can hold. And when they do inevitably have some sort of issues, how quickly ESG can fix them. Because remember, this is their first rodeo. They did a 0.9 launch, of course, but they've never done a 1.0 launch, and they're still fairly new to multiplayer. They've never made another game before this, so it's going to be very interesting to watch that. What I would ask of players who are going to check the game out is have some patience for them, because they don't yet. They've never done it before. Like, I don't want to say they don't know what they're doing, because they do have people on there that do know what they're doing, but as an organization, they've never experienced anything like this. So that's going to be fascinating to watch. Hopefully it goes amazingly. But the hype is definitely going to create some interesting scenarios where you might have some difficulty getting into the game, or you might find some lag. Just be prepared for that. But hopefully it's good enough to where you can experience the game, and hopefully players like me who've been playing it for so long are right in thinking that a lot of people are going to really, really love this game. And then we can see what happens in the future, which is more cycles. So we already know like what's going to generally happen for the next few cycles, which is pretty cool. Cycles, again, remember, are leagues or seasons. Leagues in PoE, seasons in Diablo 3, or Diablo 4 and Diablo 3. They are similar functionally. And the first two cycles after the 1.0 one, possibly 3, we generally know it's going to be endgame focused. It's going to be focused on at least 2 of them are going to be focused on the primary endgame system, the Monolith of Fate. Could you guys tell us a little bit about your plans going forward for endgame?
Yeah, absolutely. There is a lot. In-game is, of course, extremely important in these games. The vast majority of time that people are going to spend in an action RPG in Last Epoch is an in-game. So we're going to spend a very disproportionate amount of time investing in the in-game expansion. To give you a couple examples here, we have multiple in-game expansions for the Monolith of Fate already planned. Another one kind of stirring up already. In addition to that, some fun stuff coming there.
That's super exciting because ARPGs have become all about endgame over the past maybe decade, especially with Path of Exile, having how much endgame it does. So knowing that the direction they're going into is going to be endgame focused is pretty cool, and hopefully that provides the game with a very healthy reason to come back over the first few cycles, and the community can grow, and this game can be considered one of the best ARPGs on the market. And when you talk about Diablo 4 and Path of Exile, you've also got to talk about Last Epoch, because you just can't ignore it. That's what I hope will happen, and I do predict it will happen. As someone who also plays D4 and PoE, I think this game has got a lot of things going for it, and 1.0 is going to be an awesome time to see just how well it handles the popularity and the fame it gets. But I think they're going to do well, and I think that people are going to be really excited when they see what they have offered in 1.0. And yeah, so that's what you can expect for 1.0. It's a very big period of time, I guess you could say, for this game. And it is going to be a game in a really good state, I think, for at least the average ARPG player, and even more hardcore players to check out something new, check out something with a lot of depth in it, but that's not insanely complex. That's you can kind of sink your teeth into fairly quickly. And I'm excited to play the game with you guys. So thank you so much for watching. I hope for those of you who are trying to figure out whether or not you should play this at 1.0, this gives you some insight into at least what I, as a player who's been playing this game for a long time, feel about it and what you can expect to see when that happens. Hope you all have a great time in Last Epoch if you do choose to play it, and I'll see you all again real soon.